What's going on? What's going on, Zionist Station? So yeah, I was on. Is this on? Yeah, it is. I was on Times of Israel, and they sent me a message. Yeah, they saw that I was on their website. Love game, Josh. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, everyone said, the Lord said, keep reading unfortunate events. Let's see. Alongside each tent was a caravan, which is a wheeled carriage used as a home by people who travel frequently. Yeah, he likes those. He used a wheeled home. Yeah, it's kind of like the homes they lived in Miserable Mill. Yeah, I don't remember what home they lived in exactly, but it was kind of like that spot where it was like a spot where loggers would live or something. I don't know exactly. Since my family had a tree service, that stuck with me. And don't ask. So whatever that was about, I would have to reread it. Don't care. The caravans and tents all had different designs. Yeah, what was that? We'll just keep reading this. Oh, they were talking about the question mark in the submarine. Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of tantalizing details like that. He drops lots of hints that there's a lot more going on in the story. It reminds me of not J.K. Rowling. She's interested in this too, but that's an understatement. Yeah, she wants me to read Harry Potter now. Of J.R.R. Tolkien was talking about when you build a world, you have to have vistas in the background. What about it? I don't know. Yeah, you just have to have vistas in the background. He said something about in order to have a world that's even bigger than that, you have to continue making new vistas in the background. Something like that. It's just, after a while, it gets kind of like exponential. Don't care that they came, Josh. But the Baudelaires knew at once which caravan was Madame Lulu's because it was decorated with an enormous eye. The eye matched the one, that means she was in the BFD. The eye matched the one tattooed on Count Olaf's left ankle, the one the Baudelaires had seen many times. I don't think they've had that explained to them yet, though, that their parents were also in the BFD, so was Count Olaf, but there was a schism. I don't know if they've explained that as of yet in this edition, in this book, in the 9th book. I don't know if they've gotten to that yet. The one the Baudelaires had seen many times in their lives, and it made them shiver to think they could not escape it even in the hinterlands. The eye matched the one tattooed on Count Olaf's left ankle, the one the Baudelaires had seen many times in their lives, and it made them shiver to think they could not escape it even in the hinterlands. Yeah, that was better. Now that we're out of the trunk, Klaus said, let's get out of the area. Olaf and his troop could get back any minute. But where are we going to go? Violet asked. They said, you're not tired of reading it, man? I did feel tired for the first time. But where are we going to go? Violet asked. We're in the hinterlands. Olaf's comrade said there was no place to hide. Well, we'll have to find one, Klaus said. It can't be safe to hang around any place where Count Olaf is welcome. Aye, Sonny agreed, pointing to Madame Lulu's caravan. But we can't go wandering around the countryside again, Violet said. The last time we did that, we ended up in even more trouble. Maybe we could call the police from that phone booth, Klaus said. Dragnet, Sonny said, which meant, but the police think we're murderers. I suppose we could try. She used a similar plot device in Harry Potter, didn't she? Where they were, or it was Sirius Black. They said Sirius Black was the evil murderer, right? Or whatever he was. I don't remember exactly what he was accused of having done, but he was, yeah. So it's important to teach children that the justice system, that the authorities often do that. They did that with Jesus, didn't they? They did that with Paul, with the apostles. We can't go wandering around the countryside again, Violet said. The last time we did that, we ended up in even more trouble. Okay, I suppose we could try to reach Mr. Poe, Violet said. He didn't answer the telegram we sent him asking for help, but maybe we'll have better luck on the phone. The three siblings looked at one another without much hope. Mr. Poe was the vice president of orphan affairs at Mortuary Money Management, a large bank in the city, and part of his job was overseeing the Baudelaires' affairs after the fire. Mr. Poe was not a wicked person, but he had mistakenly placed them in the company of so much wickedness that he had been almost as wicked as an actual wicked person, and the children were not particularly eager to contact him again, even if it was all they could think of. It's probably a slim chance that he'll be of any help, Violet admitted, but what have we got to lose? Let's not think about that, Klaus replied, and walked over to the phone booth. Maybe Mr. Poe will at least allow us to explain ourselves. Varese, Sonny said, which meant something like, we'll need money to make a phone call. I don't have any, Klaus said, reaching into his pockets. Do you have any money, Violet? Violet shook her head. Let's call the operator and see if there's some way we can place a call without paying for it. Klaus nodded and opened the door of the booth so he and his sisters could crowd inside. Violet lifted the receiver and dialed O for operator, while Klaus lifted up Sonny so all three siblings could hear the conversation. Operator, said the operator. Good evening, Violet said. My siblings and I would like to place a call. Please deposit the proper amount of money, the operator said. We don't have the proper amount of money, Violet said. We don't have any money at all. Oh, we don't have the proper amount of money, Violet said. We don't have any money at all, but this is an emergency. There was a faint wheezing from the phone. And the Baudelaires realized that the operator was sighing. What is the exact nature of your emergency? Violet looked down at her siblings and saw the last of the sunset's blue light reflecting off Klaus's glasses and Sonny's teeth. As the dark closed around them, the nature of their emergency seemed so enormous that it would take the rest of the night to explain it to the telephone operator, and the eldest Baudelaire tried to figure out how she could summarize, a word which here means, tell their story in a way that would convince the operator to let them talk to Mr. Poe. Well, she began, my name is Violet Baudelaire, and I'm here with my brother Klaus and my sister Sonny. Our names might sound a bit familiar to you because the Daily Punctilio has recently published an article saying that we're Veronica, Clyde, and Susie Baudelaire, and that we're murderers who killed Count Omar. See, Susie, like Susanna. I saw Daniel and don't ask. Yeah, Veronica. Veronica's another one of my favorite names. But Count Omar is really Count Olaf, and he's not really dead. He faked his death by killing another person with the same tattoo and framed us for the murder. Veronica was the saint who wiped Jesus' tears as he carried the cross. Were they tears or there were tears? And don't ask. Was it Jesus' tears? Whose tears? Yeah, Daniel is pretty savage to talk about Susanna right there. Yeah, what is that? It's foreshadowing, right? Saint Veronica wiped the face of Jesus during the 1st century AD, specifically around AD 30 or 30 or 33, on the way to Calvary, though tradition sometimes conflates her with the biblical woman who suffered from a 12-year hemorrhage before that event. Yeah, she was. Yeah. Why was it savage to say Susanna? Because Daniel got the people who were trying to trick Susanna and frame her. And Daniel, what was it though? He got them he said, what was it specifically? It was about a tree. He said, what tree was Susanna by when she did what you're saying she did? And one person said an evergreen oak, and the other person said it was like something else. And they were caught red-handed because they had made up the whole story, right? And they were put to death, yeah. Daniel had them executed. Was it Daniel who had them executed, or the court that executed them after finding her innocent and finding them guilty of trying to get away with a scheme like that? It was, I don't remember specifically. But Count Omar is really Count Olaf, and he's not really dead. He faked his death by killing another person with the same tattoo and framed us for the murder. Recently, he destroyed a hospital while trying to capture us. But we managed to hide in the trunk of his car as he drove off with his comrades. Now we've gotten out of the trunk, and we're trying to reach Mr. Poe so he can help us get a hold of the Snicket file, which we think might explain what the initials VFD stand for, and if one of our parents survived the fire after all. So it's 100 for her to say the world is a good place and you're trying to help us, right? Don't ever say the world is an evil place and everyone's trying to kill you, right? Why not? Why not? Well, why is she calling at all if they're evil people who are trying to kill her? She's actually talking to the Lord, isn't she? She's actually screaming to the Lord for help by saying, I'm saying everything that's going on, Lord. I don't know what else to do here. Either we're dead or I don't know what else to do. That's what she's really doing. She's making a final phone call before they... This is it for them. They're isolating. They're isolated at a terrifying carnival with evil people, and they have no way of escaping. And if one of our parents survived the fire after all, I know it's a very complicated story, and it may seem unbelievable to you, but we're all by ourselves in the hinterlands, and we don't know what else to do. The story was so terrible that Violet had cried a little while telling it, and she brushed a tear from her eye. Yeah, he said Veronica again, as she waited for a reply from the operator. He's really smart, isn't he? But no voice came out of the phone. The three Baudelaires listened carefully, but all they could hear was the empty and distant sound of a telephone line. Hello? Violet said finally. The telephone said nothing. Hello? Violet said again. Hello? Hello? The telephone did not answer. Hello? Violet said, as loud as she dared. I think we'd better hang up, Klaus said gently. Lord said, was that as loud as you dared? It was. But why isn't anyone answering? Violet cried. I don't know, Klaus said, but I don't think the operator will help us. Lord said, is anyone hearing you right now but me, Josh? Yes, they are. Violet hung up the phone and opened the door of the booth. Now that the sun was down, are you in danger, Josh? No, you're not. Because I'm protecting you, Josh. Love came, Josh. Daniel would know that you would never say that in a situation like that, the Lord wouldn't hear you. If you're a righteous person, and only a righteous person would have that happen to them. What about the Jews in the Holocaust, though? Everyone saw. They came, Josh, to say, why didn't the Lord hear us crying for help? Everyone saw. The Lord did hear you crying for help. No one came, Josh. Then why did they die? Everyone saw. Should you be telling kids that everything will work out like this? You shouldn't tell the kids that it wouldn't, not on the Lord's earth, not if you acted like this. So the Jews weren't really righteous before the Lord? The Lord said, just leave it right there and let people figure it out for themselves. Or just keep reading, because this is a good thing to do, Josh. It's a good thing to think about those things, isn't it? The answers to questions like that aren't always black and white. Was Cain evil, Josh? Love saw Cain surprised Abel and killed him. Yeah, that was terribly evil. You said it wasn't evil like the Holocaust. Love saw Cain was more evil than the Nazis because he killed his brother and tricked him. Yeah. Did you say he wasn't? I did. Yeah, I'm sorry. I know he was more evil than the Nazis. I'll just leave it right there for now. Thank you.